afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have to say I'm delighted to be here today. I went into work this morning and I saw a headline in the newspaper saying that we are losing our economic sovereignty, and I'm just going, Jesus, there's more bloody bad news. And I work in a media organisation, and we're shortly launching a campaign for positivity. But I have to say that the people here this morning and their speeches and their experiences have been nothing short of an inspiration. I tried to actually make a note of some of the things that I got to them, and I have an exhaustive list. I think they've shown us positivity. They've spoken of the opportunities that are out there. They've exhibited ambition and belief, determination, teamwork. They've overcome obstacles. They haven't taken no for an answer. They're practical. They're simple. They've shown great resilience, creativity, innovation, and they're keeping it all simple. And the great thing is that they're all based here in Kilkenny. I'm Chamber President, and we work with a lot of business organisations. And we are determined, and I'd like to assure the local authorities of our total support for this initiative. I'd like to thank them and congratulate them for the leadership they've taken. Joe and John and Aisling and all the elected members and their organisations, I'd like to assure you of our support. And I think we should all put our hands together and give a good, enthusiastic round of applause. I'm not going to talk very long, but I'd like to welcome our visitors to Kilkenny, particular on behalf of the business community, welcome the representatives of the embassies of India, the People's Republic of China and the United States of America. And I'd like to assure you that the business community here is positive and supportive. We'll open doors. You've heard it's a great place to do business, and we'll ensure that it continues to be a great place to do business. I just started off by, Joe talked about, and we've seen the marketing material that's been unveiled. But Joe, you talked about the economic development policy, and it's quite a substantial document. Could you just give us a bit of an idea of what the broad outlines of that are?
It's about making Kilkenny a more competitive place. And really, for anybody who's serious about competition, and I mean, obviously the market is driving the lowering of costs and restructuring and new arrangements and so on and so forth, and new innovations. But in relation to, and obviously that the market is key and businesses are key. So therefore we have to be supportive of business as best we can in relation to the part of the vision that's dealt with by the public side. So from our point of view, in terms then of what strategic or structural change can we make that would make business a better place to do business, and that's where we've been at for the past 2 years.
So earlier on, Joe, if I could just follow up with, we were talking about Twitter and Facebook, and it's all about networks and connectivity and so on. And I think we have a huge resource in this room and in the business community and in the businesses who talked to us earlier on. This is the start of a kind of a united campaign of everybody getting together and promoting Kilkenny. Terry gave us some ideas about how that can be done on a very practical basis. Have you anything to add about what kind of support you're looking for from businesses, from the Chamber, from other business organisations?
We'd like business to take ownership of this campaign. We'd like to think that we have started it. We have developed it in conjunction with business. They have been very much at the heart of the website and indeed of the promotion. And we can be a catalyst as best we possibly can. But the task of creating wealth is a matter for entrepreneurs. And we would like, therefore, for entrepreneurs to take ownership of this campaign as part of that mutually collaborative thing that we've been talking about, piggybacking on each other's campaign. That's really it.
Okay. Could I just follow up on something like that point, Joe, which is what impressed me about our speakers earlier on was the resilience and determination. And this is perhaps a question for you, Terry. The country's gone through a huge paroxysm of decline, I suppose, and morale is low. I was struck by how you said that, virtually overnight 85% of your business was wiped out. You had 15 people at the time. The community and society needs leadership in terms of getting ourselves into the right headspace. Can you talk to us a bit about the attitude that you applied to that challenge and how you drove forward from there? I mean, we're not as bad as losing 85% of our economy. It's the other way around. We have 85% employment. Could you address that?
I suppose we're a very small ship compared to most countries. We've only 4 million people here, and it's relative to turning around economies that are equally difficult, like the Greek economy or the Spanish. They've an awful lot longer. It's going to take them an awful lot longer because they're so large. But if you just take a country similar size to Ireland, Israel. Israel is in a desert. It's surrounded by countries that want to blow it up, and it has a similar, if not a higher GDP to Ireland. Why is that? Because they use their contacts globally. That's what I did when we were going through very, very difficult times. We went out and just used any connections we had whatsoever and harnessed them to make deals or to build our...
So can I just check there, Terry, that's like you're not talking about high-flying contacts. You just went and looked at who you knew.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people can feel, that it's on a different level than you're talking about. But how grassroots is it, really? Is it just looking at who you know on your phone?
I don't know, what did we do? From making the service that we were providing at that time was services to students who were travelling abroad. So we asked, at the time there was a famous company in Ireland called Use It, and I went up, met the head of Use It, and asked, does he have any contacts globally who would be interested in telling their fellow students worldwide about what we do? So he simply made a couple of phone calls for us to other travel companies, and our guys jumped on planes, went straight out to Australia, straight out to Brazil, straight out to North America, made deals immediately. And they weren't highfalutin companies at all. They were just relatively small travel businesses, but they had a source of customers that we could utilise, and that's what we did.
So it's as simple as that. Just ask for the information you want. And
yeah, absolutely. But again, there's an awful lot of major entities that could bring major business into Ireland that has just never been tapped. And going back to the guy with the stats, and he's a prime example. There's loads of people in the US, in Britain, who could be simply asked if we simply had the balls to go up and ask them.
Did you get his card?
Did I what?
Get his card.
Absolutely, and that's I came back from the US there last week. I think I had my pockets were about to burst because I was just stuffed with cards. It's constantly, making connections is what it's all about.
And as far as I know, there is actually an apartment which is done up to the nines in the other tower in Kilkenny Castle, so it is possible to put people into it, but in true tradition, I'm not too sure if anyone's ever used it.
Just in addition to that, most people are getting out of traditional industries. Like most people are desperately getting out of banks. In our business, we've just applied for a banking license, and we're actually desperate to get into banking because I see a huge opportunity, not in Ireland, but globally, to provide international payment services. And we've got Michael O'Leary, Ryanair as a client. And we've got Hertz, and we've got a lot of major companies that now, it's just a service we just started a couple of months ago. And I suppose, again, it's that point of looking to the positive rather than the negative.
Dr. Willie Donnelly, I think it's great news, and probably the headline news out of this morning is the announcement that you're locating here in Kilkenny, and on behalf of the business community and everybody, we'd like to assure you of our support and welcome you to Kilkenny. Can you excite us a bit about what the potential is, or maybe you're too modest to kind of do that, but what kind of space?
No, well, first I'd like to say we shouldn't be too negative in one way, that we have invested $3 billion in research over the last 10 years, and the whole environment has changed totally. In my own research group, I've got people from about 20 countries around the world, from China, from the US, from Europe, and we've developed a centre that's a world-class centre. What that means is that the name of the TSG is recognised in every university, in major companies around the world as innovators. And this is people in this region who've done that. I think the one thing I would say is that we have to focus on excellence, because it's excellence that's going to drive the economy going forward. Innovation is another key word. If you want to see innovation, I mean, sometimes people think us academics have an easy job and we sit back and we're a cushion number. If you're in research, can you imagine running a company where in every year, calendar year, you have to spend all the money you had and start all over again? So in the good years, you can't save money, you spend it, and you go from zero and you do it again. We've 150 people that we have to employ. That's been innovative. That's been creative. So there's a huge amount of creative people out there that we have in the region. I would say two things. I'd say definitely I was in Palo Alto with Science Foundation Ireland last week, and 80 companies from the Silicon Valley turned up to listen to Irish academics talk. That's a reputation. So they could be out making money. They spent the full day listening to us talk. And the reason they want to come to areas like Kilkenny and how we can attract them, and I agree with Joe, we need to target these companies, is because we can say that we've got the scarcest resource in the world, intelligent, innovative people. And we've got to focus on those people. But the other thing I would say, I had a great conversation with Terry. I went in to talk to Terry for 5 minutes, and I think 2 hours, 15 minutes later, we were still talking. People like Terry are the innovators. And sometimes in Ireland we forget. Sometimes we look at the FDI, and when we have a problem, we run to other people. The solution is here. And what I want to do in Kilkenny, and what we're committed to do, is we have developed in Waterford an innovation platform that will allow entrepreneurs to concentrate on the business, and we concentrate on the technology and how to deliver that, because science is about delivering into the community. So what I see happening here in Kilkenny, and which my commitment is, that we will provide a platform that will attract, of course, the multinationals here, but the biggest focus has to be on Irish entrepreneurs, bringing them to this wonderful city, working with people like Terry, getting new ideas, innovating those ideas, and creating a critical mass. Because success is when you get a critical mass of people thinking the same way. That's the great thing about Silicon Valley. What has Silicon Valley got? It's got people who are innovators, who know how to take risks, who want to take risks. And my view is that we're starting small, but what this centre will do in Kilkenny will provide that type of platform that will attract the right type of people into Kilkenny. And just finally, I'd say another thing is, sometimes people think that the type of research we're doing, because I put a lot of names up there of people like IBM and Ericsson's and people like that we work with, and they're our calling cards, right? We last year did 144 innovation vouchers, each worth €5,000, with local businesses to help them to innovate their companies. So the thing I would say is, no matter what company you're in, I'd agree with what Terry said, is the thing about the internet and the thing about technology is it gives you opportunities to extend your business and do things differently and to create new opportunities. And I hope that when we establish here, that by meeting with people, by talking to people, that we will create that type of environment.
Thanks, Willie. Just the thing that you said that I'd like to pick up on, which is from small things, big things can grow. I mean, I've heard stories, and I remember hearing stories about the day that Avonmore, as it was, which is now Glanbia, opened their first office in Kilkenny, and they had to go around and ask local people for the loan of chairs because they didn't actually have chairs to furnish their office on the first day that it started off. And to hear that that's now gone to over 5,000 people on every continent in the world, I think is just an ambition, or is an inspiration in terms of the belief in how you can build things up. You know, you talked, Brian, about, change in the agricultural environment and quotas and all that, and some of the opportunities that are there. What are the opportunities for Glanbia? How can that be an opportunity for Kilkenny, and what can we both do for each other, I suppose?
Yeah, well, I suppose picking up on that, John, and the point about seeing what you can do for your own business. If you take a couple of examples, I talked about one of them on the wayside, but just take, we make fat-filled milk powder out of milk, and it's exported to West Africa. That was the origins of the Nutricima business. So, very simply, we looked at that business and said, well, why should we just export to a distributor in West Africa? Why can't we drive our own business from top to bottom out there? And we did that. So I think everyone here is talking about opportunities where they show a passion and a deep knowledge of their own business, and they're able to, I can't create out opportunities for Tom's business or for Terry's business, but I know the opportunities from our business. So I think you need to understand and know your own business. Maybe you could
give them an ad campaign, and they can do your next ad campaign.
Well, they know their businesses, and they know where they can get into that space and compete successfully, and that's what we do. Why did we do that piece? Because we said, well, we can take advantage of that. We can bring that technological capability, and that's underpinned by expertise. And you talk about innovation. We have dairy processing and technology expertise. That's the people of the Ballyragget facility and of the Virginia County Cavan facility, of the head office, heading out to these locations and bringing their expertise to build the technology and to put up the technology that actually drives that business. It's the same with the whey. Whey was fed to pigs, as I said earlier, many years ago. We moved into high-tech ultrafiltration technology,
And then we said, well, hold on, we're selling this ingredient into businesses. Can we play in there? Now, you have to be careful. You can't play everywhere, and you don't want to extend yourself. But careful, like we did, careful vertical integration, for instance, into the performance nutrition business. We felt we had the branded experience to move in there. We're selling way in there, so why not move into that space? So the message for me is everybody here understands, or from me, is everyone understands their own business. But, you know, you look at the opportunities and then be confident and go after them and use your expertise. But to your point about where Kilkenny plays into that, obviously, this is all underpinned by the expertise of and the capability of the people coming out of Kilkenny and been able to go to places like Clovis, New Mexico, and help with our colleagues in the Idaho business and create, for instance, a cheese business like we've created. So you have that and it's the same thing in the dairy industry as it is in the internet or anything else. It's about technological expertise, and that's what we can bring to the table as well. And that creates a bigger company and obviously builds a stronger head office. We have finance people, tax people, strategy people, all required to help underpin those businesses when we do build them.
How do we help local businesses take ownership? I think that's the key to this. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Monsignor Kennedy. Sean O'Haragon, second.
John, just a very brief follow-on question from that. The news on fourth level or third level is excellent for Kilkenny, but are there lessons for those of us who are involved further down the educational chain in terms of the skills that we need to be giving to the future entrepreneurs of Kilkenny and the future workers of Kilkenny to make the city fit for business at both primary and post-primary level, whether that's from a business perspective or from a creativity perspective in terms of the businesses like Tom's which have developed?
Thanks, Sean. Willie?
First, I'd just like to respond to Monsignor. I'm glad I'm coming at my age because at least you won't ask me to play hurling. Yeah, this is crux of everything. It's how do we get the younger generation to be the next innovators? Because they are hugely innovative people. My own son, who's just gone to university, I tried for 10 years to give him a user manual for anything that I bought him, because my generation, we read something before we use it. He doesn't, and his generation don't. And they have this different type of intelligence. And I think one of the problems we have in Ireland is that the intelligence that comes from a generation that grew up on the internet and the way they view the world and the way they view technology, I sometimes feel that in our educational system, and I think this would be my biggest worry about the downturn in the economy, is it's already poor when it comes to IT and the way we bring IT, and no disrespect to people like yourself, but it's an area where really we've never really grabbed, if you say, the problem as we say Singapore has. So the first thing I would say is the future is the next generation. They're not shy of technology. It's just they think differently and they see the world differently. And one of the first things we need to do as a country is we need to capture that intelligence and to capture that innovation in some way.
What do you see as the mix between existing companies employing additional people due to be able to improve their exports or generate more exports versus new investors coming in with new jobs? Would you see that there should be more of an emphasis put on trying to get the existing businesses to grow rather than looking for white elephants to come in to invest?
I think we're going to have to pursue every single strand. And clearly, Enterprise Ireland and national policy is about growing, taking your micro-enterprise, incubating it, say, with all sorts of clever technology or all sorts of clever possibilities, or just people's own imaginations, and then growing from micro to SME up into global, which is what each of the people or each of the companies that are here this morning did. And that's where we need to be for the future. It's growing from micro to SME up to big, and that's the challenge.
I'm conscious that we've run over time, and I know that we can continue some of these discussions over lunch, but we'll take one or two final questions. The gentleman there.
If I could just ask, we spoke a lot about infrastructure, and particularly, I suppose, in relation to the TSSG communications, and I gather that there's a fibre metropolitan area network around Kilkenny for broadband access, which I presume some of the larger companies have got access to. Do the Council have any plans to assist the smaller companies to get access to that network?
Again, I'm not an expert on the fibre network, but we have an expert here, Mark O'Toole, who's just here on my left, and he will answer that question for you immediately after that. But I can say that we have planned to put in place some to widen the impact of the fibre optic network that we have here in Kilkenny. We also are in discussions with the IDA at the moment and with the Port of Waterford in relation to extension into Bellevue, because we see that as a critical and essential piece of infrastructure. So certainly I agree with you, the question of expanding the network, but it is the case that the Department of Communications, which is primarily responsible for that interlinking with the private sector, that their capability to do stuff has been reduced because of the budgetary situation that we're in. But we have to find new solutions to overcome those budgetary constraints.
Last question there.
Could I ask Mr. Crockett, what efforts are presently being made by Kilkenny County Council and the IDA to attract some global manufacturing operations to Kilkenny, seeing that in 2008 we lost a large manufacturing operation with NN Euroball?
I think that the most concrete step and the most, well, I suppose the three things that I mentioned at the top of the presentation: the investment in the motorway, the strategic water supply for Bellevue, which is an €11 million investment, and indeed the partnership with ICT, that they're really the strategic things that we're adding on to the existing assets that Kilkenny has. And I think that the key task that's now before us is, one, is to communicate the new reality that's there, the competitive advantage that locating in Kilkenny offers, the port, with the advantages of the port, the possibility of connection with the WIT and CIT and NUIM, and let's get on with it. So I think that the IDA has been very engaged around what we do, and we just have to, as Terry said this morning, we have to take on ourselves and onto ourselves the task of communicating this reality to the diaspora. And indeed, that's why representatives are here from the different embassies this morning, so that the commercial attaches would know that when they're getting itineraries in, or when they're getting requests from people to say, well, where in Ireland would be a good place to do business in, that the different embassies who are here this morning will be able to relay that message back.